Dear students, welcome to session 4 of Operating System Principles. In the last session, we have studied different operating system structures such as simple structure, monolithic structure. Then we have studied what is a layered approach. So in today's session, we are going to focus mainly on one more structure that is known as microkernel system structure and what are the benefits of microkernel system structure. So microkernel system structure is basically nothing but where uh, kernel is built small as compared to the other structures. That's why the name is given as microkernel. We have already seen that Unix expanded and the kernel become large and difficult to manage. So what is the problem with Unix was so much functionality was embedded into the kernel part, so the kernel has become larger. So once the kernel becomes larger, it's very difficult to manage its functions. So that's why in the mid 1980s, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University developed an operating system called Mac that modularized the kernel using microkernel approach. Means in 1980s the Carnegie Mellon University researchers developed operating system called Mac, which was built upon microkernel system structure. This method structures the operating system by removing all the non-essential components from the kernel and implementing them as a system and user level program. So what they have done is they have divided the whatever non-essential parts were present in the kernel part into two parts such as system and one more is user level. So that's why the kernel has become the smaller. In your monolithic structure, if you see the Unix operating system structure, lots of functionalities have been added into the kernel part itself. So that's why the kernel has become more larger and it was very difficult to manage that kernel. So what the developers have done is they have developed a smaller version of kernel so that it will be easier to manage. That's why the name is given as micro kernel. There is a little compromise regarding which service should remain in the kernel and which should not be implemented in user space. As just now I told you, they are divided the services into two parts. One is kernel level services and the second one is the user level services. So typically, however, microkernels provide minimal process and memory management in addition to communication facility. So the examples of these microkernel systems are True64 Unix, QNX. These are the examples, and we can see the structure or the architecture of microkernel system structure in the figure as follow. So you can see here there are two spaces. One is user mode, second one is the kernel mode, and below that you will find hardware. What are the things present in user mode? Application program, file system, device, drivers. So earlier, all these things were embedded into kernel mode only. This is your file system, device drivers, all were present in kernel mode. So the kernel has become larger. But in microkernel, what they have done is they have removed the file system and device driver and they have placed into user mode. And in kernel mode, you will find inter-process communication, memory management, CPU scheduling. So only few services you can see in kernel mode. That's why the name is given as micro kernel. So how the communication happens with the help of message passing. So whenever we need any services, the user mode will request for that service with the help of a message. So it will go to the kernel. Kernel will take that message, and then if there is any necessity to communicate with the hardware, it will communicate with the hardware. It will process that request. Again the request is passed back to the user mode with the help of messages. So what are the functions of microkernel? The main function of microkernel is to provide communication between the client program and the various services that are running in user space. So it provides the communication between your client program and the services that are running in user space. Communication is provided through message passing. Just now I told you how do the clients or the users communicate with the system. They communicate with the help of message passing. For example, if the client program wishes to access a file, it must interact with the file server. The client program and the service never interact directly. You have to remember one thing. If you want to communicate or interact with something, you have to communicate with the help of that appropriate message passing mechanism. So here the client program and the service never interact directly, rather they communicate indirectly by exchanging messages with the microkernel. Suppose if a user wants to access something which is stored in a file, then the user cannot directly communicate with the file server. It has to be get communicated by means of message passing mechanism. Microkernel system structure benefits are easier to extend microkernel. As you can see, only few services are present in the kernel mode. So you can extend the kernel part, means you can add few services into the kernel. Easier to port the operating system to new architectures. Easier to port means you can change the structure of this operating system by adding few more services. Next one is more reliable. Less code is running in the kernel mode, that's why you can consider it as more reliable. More secure. More secure in the sense only the essential services are kept in the kernel mode, so no any unauthorized user can access those services, thus it makes that system secured one. Then what are the disadvantages of this approach? Performance overhead of user space to kernel space communication. As I told you in the earlier slides, that whatever a user or a client wants to communicate, it has to be get communicated with the help of message passing mechanism that forms the part of communication. So it will add a overhead to the kernel space. Consider the histories of Windows NT. The first release had layered microkernel organization, means Microsoft corporation has developed operating system known as Windows NT, which was built upon layered microkernel structure. This version's performance was low as compared to the Windows 95. Windows NT 4.0 partially corrected the performance problem by moving layers from user space to the kernel space and integrating them more closely. So whatever problems present in Windows NT, those problems were resolved in Windows NT 4.0 by moving the layers from user space to the kernel space. By the time Windows XP was designed, Windows architecture had become more monolithic than microkernel. So you can say that Windows XP came into existence and Windows architecture started moving to the monolithic structure rather than microkernel, because there is a overhead of communication between a user space and the kernel space. So let us summarize what all we have studied in today's session. We have started with what is microkernel system structure. Then we have seen how this structure works, what are the benefits of microkernel systems, and what are the disadvantages of microkernel system. Thank you.